Dr. Shockley is, of course, the Nobel Prize-winning discoverer or co-discoverer of the transistor.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at major world-changing inventions whose inventors had dark, disturbing, or outright unethical streaks that history hasn't forgotten.
One quickly learns all the things that Henry Ford was unhappy about.
J. Marion Sims and the vaginal speculum. He was praised as the father of modern gynecology, but the reality behind his work was nothing less than horrifying.
It was an early morning strike, the statue of Dr. J. Marion Sims taken down.
J. Marion Sims developed various surgical techniques and instruments in the 1840s. The most notable was the vaginal speculum. Unfortunately, it wasn't Sims' invention that was inherently evil, but rather how he came about developing it, by experimenting on enslaved black women in Alabama. Sims performed surgeries without anesthesia.
Well, what does it mean when you say that someone doesn't feel pain? Among other things, you're speaking about their humanity.
He was said to believe that black women didn't feel pain the same way as white women did. While his medical innovations have had a lasting influence, they were developed at the expense of unimaginable suffering. Sims's legacy is now a fierce debate that questions whether we should honor his invention or forever condemn the monstrous methods behind it.
It was not acceptable back then. We just did not hear from the people who protested against it.
Alexander Graham Bell's telephone. The telephone allowed human voices to travel instantly across large distances. It is one of the most revolutionary inventions in human history.
Unlike a telegraph, a telephone would directly link people cheaply and instantly. And no one had a telegraph at home.
Alexander Graham Bell is the man credited with the breakthrough. While his invention brought everyone a little closer, Bell wasn't exactly a saint. Known for his aggressive patent disputes, Bell reportedly relished in crushing rival inventors working on similar concepts, like Elisha Gray.
And bit by bit, Gray began to accept the Western Union theory that he really was the inventor and that somehow or other he had been robbed.
To stoke his ruthless competitive streak, Bell used legal and financial maneuvers to ensure his name went down in history. A world without instant communication now seems unimaginable. Bell's story is a cautionary tale and reminder that innovation often comes at the cost of fairness and collaboration.
In fact, Bell's real contribution may not have been the telephone, but the telephone patent, because he wrote such a good patent that nobody could challenge it.
James Watson and the double helix. The discovery of the double helix structure of DNA transformed the fields of biology and medicine. James Watson was co-credited for this discovery and got his name etched into the annals of science.
It's the famous light bulb going off story every school kid learns, how James Watson and Francis Crick discovered the structure of DNA and cemented their place in scientific history.
History, meanwhile, has not been too kind to him. Watson's personal behavior overshadowed much of his scientific fame. He infamously suggested intelligence was linked to race and allegedly frequently made racist and sexist remarks. His dismissive treatment of Rosalind Franklin, whose X-ray work was crucial to the discovery of the double helix, made matters worse.
You think that it's at all clear that they would have gotten there absent her data?
They absolutely would not.
Despite being awarded the Nobel Prize, Watson was stripped of many honors in his late life as institutions distanced themselves from his views. The double helix was a beautiful discovery, but Watson's legacy remains ugly. Jack Parsons and rocket propulsion. Before NASA came along, there was Jack Parsons. Parsons was a rocketry trailblazer who laid the groundwork for modern space travel.
From the time Jack Parsons was experimenting with rockets in his backyard as a kid, the idea that man could actually go into space was still a fantasy.
His experiments with rocket propulsion helped what was once considered fringe science become serious research and the backbone of the modern jet propulsion laboratory. Parsons' science was on point, but his personal life was straight out of a pulp novel.
Parsons was a bookworm, and he enjoyed reading sci-fi instead of playing outside and making friends. He was so fascinated by stories of magic that he once tried to summon the devil in his own bedroom.
He was deeply involved in occult practices that confounded his contemporaries. From Aleister Crowley's Thelema movement to notorious wild rituals, substance use, and illegal activities, Parsons is remembered for his genius and his madness. While his rockets pointed toward the stars, Parsons himself lived in the shadows of the occult.
Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, in a way Parsons' sex magic spells actually worked, because all of his intentions that he set out into the universe eventually came true.
Fritz Haber and synthetic fertilizer. The discovery of synthetic fertilizer allowed industrial agriculture to flourish. Fritz Haber was the man who made this possible. He came up with the nitrogen fixation process, crucial for nitrogen-based fertilizers.
Haber found a method which took the nitrogen in the air and bonded it to hydrogen to form ammonia. Ammonia can then be injected into the soil, where it is quickly converted into nitrate.
From feeding billions of people to arguably preventing global famine, Haber's invention saved many lives, but his legacy came at the cost of a horrific contradiction. Haber also trailblazed chemical weapons, such as chlorine gas used by Germany during World War I.
On April 22, 1915, Haber personally oversaw the first large-scale gas attack in military history in Belgium.
His weapons unleashed new horrors and changed the face of war. Haber's wife, also a chemist, tragically took her own life, supposedly in protest of his work. Haber's story demonstrates how one mind can both sustain life and invoke death.
The year after receiving his Nobel Prize, Haber was charged with war crimes.
William Shockley's transistor, a cornerstone of modern electronics. The transistor is the reason we have smartphones, computers, and most of today's digital world as we know it.
These tiny transistors are destined to play a big part in our electronic age.
William Shockley, a physicist, was part of the team that invented the transistor and would later win a Nobel Prize. While the transistor revolutionized technology, Shockley's apparent personal beliefs turned his reputation toxic.
The breeding of good genetic material, whether the people are rich or poor, is desirable. We want more Lincolns, not fewer.
Did I say this?
Yeah.
Shockley was a vocal supporter of eugenics, promoting racist theories about intelligence and genetics. His obsession with these ideas turned his colleagues away. This left behind a man with a tarnished legacy and among the most disliked figures in the scientific community.
I think we should go back and talk about the 80% geneticity, which is really the most definite thing. The control of genes by environment.
Although Shockley's transistor was a monumental breakthrough in science, he has become infamously known for spreading pseudoscience. Guglielmo Marconi's radio. If Bell's telephone connected localities, Guglielmo Marconi's invention connected continents, transformed media, and paved the way for modern broadcasting as we know it.
Sound is the first stirring of the infant. He hears sounds, he puts them together, and they cohere. Sounds have a romance.
This was the man who laid the groundwork for modern radio with his development of wireless telegraphy. Unlike his glorious invention, Marconi's reputation darkened through his political ties. He was an open supporter of Benito Mussolini and aligned himself with Italy's fascist regime. Lending his name and prestige to authoritarian propaganda, Marconi became a unique reflection of how invention and ideology can intertwine in troubling ways. The radio remains one of history's great communication tools, while its inventor is rather remembered with a legacy compromised by politics and power.
Mankind can never forget its debt to Guglielmo Marconi.
Hans Geiger and the Geiger counter. Radiation, in its advent, was considered an invisible but deadly and mysterious force. Then came along an individual who found a means to quantify and detect it. His name was Hans Geiger, the inventor of the Geiger counter.
A mainstay of science ever since, the Geiger counter became a pop culture mainstay as well.
An essential device in 20th century science and medicine, the Geiger counter is an indispensable tool for nuclear safety. Much like what the counter measures, its inventor's story carries disturbing undertones. Geiger was affiliated with the Nazi Party during World War II. He contributed to military projects that furthered the party's ambitions. Contrary to his invention that helped safeguard future generations, Geiger's own actions during one of history's darkest periods are a blemish on his legacy. Henry Ford's assembly line. Here is an individual who is credited with helping the middle class take off. He did this by making his cars affordable for everyday people.
His investors want to make an expensive car to sell to wealthy people. Ford disagrees fundamentally. He wants to create a car for the people.
The man's name was Henry Ford. He left an indelible mark on the manufacturing industry, coming up with the concept of an assembly line. His innovation turned the popular Model T into the car that put America on wheels.
The Model T greatly expanded Americans' mobility, knitting America very close together at the same time that it opened Americans' sense of what was possible.
But Ford himself was a man of troubling views and actions. Openly anti-Semitic, Ford published vile conspiracy theories in his newspaper, The Dearborn Independent.
Suddenly, anti-Semitism was being dispersed by one of the wealthiest, best-known people in America.
He also clashed with labor unions, using harsh tactics against workers. Although Ford shaped modern manufacturing and production practices, his personal bigotry, prejudice, and hostility towards workers stall his claim to moral greatness.
Henry Ford has a complex legacy. He was a bigot, an oppressive employer, and by all accounts, a pretty terrible person. He was also the father of the American automobile, which revolutionized transportation forever.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. Thomas Edison and the light bulb. The light bulb is often used as a symbol of human ingenuity. In contrast, its creator's darker side demonstrates its story isn't as bright as it seems.
The inventive genius whose fantastic mind had formulated the magic of the incandescent light bulb was no great scholar with a long chain of impressive college degrees.
Thomas Edison is remembered as one of history's greatest inventors. Today, there are major doubts about his credibility. Edison was notorious for stealing credit, particularly from Nikola Tesla, and reportedly used ruthless business tactics to crush rivals.
He's got so much at stake that he's willing to do this smear campaign.
During the War of the Currents, Edison staged brutal demonstrations of electrocution to discredit Tesla's alternating current. While he basked in fame, Edison also exploited his workers and pushed them to exhaustion. The light bulb may have illuminated many a dark household in its advent, but its inventor leaves behind a legacy proving how brilliance often burns in the dark.
His current kills people. Only because you said it will.
Ladies and gentlemen, which of these inventors do you think history should judge most harshly? Let us know in the comments.